Monster Hunter. What used to be a cult classic back when it first released on PlayStation 2, quickly became Capcom's golden goose for the foreseeable future after the release of World. Unique monster designs, awesome gear, and most importantly, gameplay that has some of the best that gaming currently has to offer. That being said, it does have its secrets, even with its new popularity. The world of Monster Hunter is a strange place, where monsters are hunted in order for humans to even get by, or strange, monolithic structures of a civilization lost to time, scattered across the hunting locales. So, I compiled all the secrets of Monster Hunter that I know of into an Iceberg image, with the trivia and theories becoming more and more obscure as we go deeper down Iceberg. And while it's far from the definitive Iceberg that can be made, especially since I don't know everything, I thought it would be an interesting spin on the content I normally make. This is heavily inspired by the Super Mario 64 Iceberg Explained video by Mishkaz. Thank you for the inspiration. Also, two friends will be going over two entries of their choice, that being my close friend Yorm and my fellow YouTuber and streamer Galactic Universe 64, whose content you should check out after you're done here. He's a lovely person to be around and will be certain to make your day just that bit brighter. So, with that being said, let's dive right on in. Alatreon-Safajiva Connection. In Monster Hunter World Iceborne, we encounter two monsters in the form of Safajiva and Alatreon, which appear to have a connection in some manner. Although it is unknown what exactly this connection is, we do know that both monsters are in a secluded valley for a reason. Perhaps to avoid the wrath of another monster. Rajang preyed on Kirin. This theory was a long-running one within the Monster Hunter community, in which the mighty Rajang preyed on Kirin, making it the only non-elder dragon to prey on an elder. This was further supported in Monster Hunter Online, where there was a cutscene in which both monsters fight only for Rajang to come out on top. Then it was finally shown to be true once Monster Hunter World Iceborne's first major title update came out, where it showed Rajang not eating the Kirin per se, but its horn, which gives Rajang its powerful thunder capabilities. Tale of the Five, a creation myth that was introduced in Monster Hunter World, which detailed how the new world was created by 5 dragons, each creating an element of the new world, such as the water, mountains, earth, forests, and finally the sapphire star. Dead Gypceros in the Hollow. In the sunken and volcanic hollow maps found in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate and Generations Ultimate, we can see the bodies of entangled Gypceros in webs. This creepy background detail is caused by the monster known as Nursilla, which preys on Gypceros and uses their skin as an added protection from other predators in the hollow. Frenzy Fever. Frenzy Fever is a hunter art that can be used in Generations Ultimate, in which we willingly infect ourselves with the Frenzy virus. The use of this art is very limited and is seen as incredibly niche, but the idea that we willingly infect ourselves with a virus that nearly threw the old world into chaos has caused some concern. Just what are those Academy researchers doing in the background? Zora Magdaros died in the Guiding Lands. In Monster Hunter World's first act, you and the Commission work together to drive off the immense Zora Magdaros to prevent it from releasing its bioenergy into the Everstream, which would have destroyed the new world. After a climactically boring final encounter, we drive off the Zora Magdaros and celebrate, the first act of the game ending here. Although it does make you wonder, where exactly did that Zora Magdaros go? Fast forward towards the post-game section of Iceborne and you will gain access to the Guiding Lands, an amalgamation of all the biomes you've seen in the new world so far. As you explore, you will come across the Rotten Vale equivalent of the Guiding Lands. Then you might notice a very familiar skull linking the two rotted regions together.
Ancient civilizations. Ruins have often been found scattered across the maps. We hunt in to add a bit of flair and mystique to the world of Monster Hunter. But yet, we have to wonder what exactly built these ancient structures. Was it a massive civilization that spread across the old world? Was structures found from the ancestral steppe, the deserted islands, and even the most notable structure of all? The tower, or was it the creations of several smaller civilizations that explain their reach and placement of these unique structures? Whatever the case, these ancient civilizations and people are long gone, never to be seen or heard from again. With only these ancient ruins being a decaying footnote that they were ever here at all.
Hollow Shengaren shell in the Jurassic Frontier. In the lower parts of the Jurassic Frontier map, we can see a very clear and disturbing display of a monster from the previous games called the Shengaren. The Carapacean shell is completely hollowed out, as if it was somewhat transparent. It is believed that the Shengaren was attacked by a much more powerful monster that picked its shell dry of meat, but given the fact that the shell is transparent and is in near pristine shape, it is more commonly believed that it was a molted shell, showing that Shengaren is still active in the world of Monster Hunter, despite its long absence in the games. The Legend of the Black Dragon. The Legend of the Black Dragon is a song that was used to describe the unfathomable power of the most powerful monster in Monster Hunter, the Fatalis. Many people who played the Freedom games might be familiar with it, as it was featured in one of the hunting magazines, where an extremely paranoid person tried to spread the word of this sign of grave danger to come. The song goes as follows. When the world is full of wyverns, the legend is revived. Meat is eaten, bone is crunched, and blood is sucked up dry. He burns the earth and melts through iron. He boils the rivers and mows down trees. He awakens the winds and lights an inferno. He is called Fatalis, the Wyvern of Destiny. He is called Fatalis, the Wyvern of Destruction. Call for help, run for your lives, and don't forget to pray to the skies. He is Fatalis, the Wyvern of Destiny. He is Fatalis, the Wyvern of Destruction. Fatalis, Fatalis, heaven and earth are yours. Fatalis, Fatalis, heaven and earth are yours. I bet you could probably tell that I said that all in one go, because I very blatantly missed he is called Fatalis. I'm not going to take that again though. Sorry. Lao Shenlong is running from Fatalis. Lao Shenlong is a colossal elder dragon that is often encountered trying to break through the defenses of heavily populated and fortified areas such as the fortress and town. But it's never quite understood why it's doing such rash actions, even ignoring hunters and weaponry in an attempt to break through, as if it was fleeing from something. That something turns out to be the legendary Black Dragon itself. This speaks volumes of how powerful this dragon is, as even something as titanic as the Lao Shenlong runs from its power. The Great Dragon War. The Great Dragon War is a theory that tries to explain the current state of the Monster Hunter world as we know it, where dragons in the ancient civilization went to war when the ancients committed the Forbidden Act and nearly caused each other to go extinct.
The tower is made of dead Kushala Daora. The tower map is one of many great mysteries of Monster Hunter. Its monolithic frame is something that doesn't fit among the world of Monster Hunter. We do not know who exactly created it, but we do know one thing: what it is made of. If we do some mining at the tower, we get decaying scales, which is a solely unique drop from one other locale. The shed and decaying skin of the Kushala Daora found on the Arctic Ridge. This haunting display may reconfirm this. Whatever created this tower was powerful enough to kill hundreds of thousands of Kushala Daora to get the material needed. It's a wonder that we think we're the true hunters here, when we're nothing but a footnote to whoever forced it this.
The Equal Dragon Weapon. Ah yes, the most infamous theory in the Monster Hunter series. The Equal Dragon Weapon is a concept from the Monster Hunter Illustrations book, where it is seen as a bioweapon that was created from hundreds of dragons and had the power of each one of those dragons. This bioweapon was a weapon of mass destruction, as it got more powerful as it shed more blood. The creation of such a horrid beast was seen as the Forbidden Act, and is often theorized to be the start of the Great Dragon War. Whether or not you actually believe this is up to your own interpretation. The Black Dragon Jiva. There was a popular theory that at the end of Iceborne's update cycle, we will be getting a final, even stronger version of Safajiva, one that was on par with the likes of Fatalis itself. This was because of the possible original connection between Alatreon and the Jivas. It was believed that Alatreon was there to stop the Jivas from becoming this final evolution, only to have its bioenergy stolen after its own death at the hand of us hunters. This has since been proven false. Empress's Throne is the Equal Dragon Weapon. Back when Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate was the newest game being talked about, there was an interesting topic to be had at the end of the trailers for said game, where there was what seemed to be a mechanized dragon of some sorts in a ruined area. This got the Monster Hunter community to blow up, as they thought we were going to finally see the equal dragon weapon in action, only to be immediately shut down as it was revealed to be the mechanical puppet of the final boss of Generations Ultimate, Atal-Ka. Hypervirus is a mutated strand of the Frenzy virus. In Monster Hunter Generations and Generations Ultimate, we get a new type of virus known as the Hypervirus. Akin to the Frenzy in the past and Tempered monsters in the next game, Hyper monsters are meant to be buffed up monsters that can give even expert hunters a rough time, especially when you get hit by a body part that's shrouded in the Hyper Aura. Some people think that the Hypervirus is a mutated strand of the Frenzy virus, but instead of zombifying the monster, it only infects certain parts of the body to make it even stronger than it was before. It's unknown how this Hypervirus even spread, but there were some theories that the Hypervirus was created by some scientists that went too far and made a bioweapon. 2 Adept Greatswords send monsters flying. Still in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, it is believed that 2 or more Adept Greatsword users, if timed perfectly, can send monsters flying into the air, only to come crashing back down, stunning the monster for a few moments. This is an interesting case where it's hard to prove if it's fake or not, as getting the sync attack from the Adept Greatsword users is especially tricky, but given that the series is a stickler for details such as this, it isn't impossible. The perfect enemy for humanity. This entry is the most well-known one on this level, with it being described as a description to how smart Fatalis really is and how much he despises humanity. While the exact details aren't known, it's known that Fatalis destroyed the kingdom of Charade in a single night, and has such an unfathomable hatred for humanity that it is known to melt the bodies of hunters that have fallen to its own body, as a form of cruel mockery of what the hunters do to other monsters. This sense of intelligence and extreme cruelty has given it the name of the perfect enemy for humanity. Valstrax and Amatsu are rivals. At Universal Studios Japan, there is a special collaboration for Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate and showcased a couple monsters, most notably an Amatsu that was defeated by an unnamed hunter in the audience, and then a Valstrax that attacks them immediately afterwards. After the audience hits Valstrax with the Dragonator, Valstrax is about to counter, only for its attention to be turned to the Amatsu, who has recovered from the earlier fight. We then see the Valstrax flying towards the Amatsu, as if it's going to attack the now weakened monster. Its canonicity is in question, but it's an interesting interaction that's worth noting. Alatreon and Orochi Kirin leaks. Back in the prime of Monster Hunter World's major title updates, there was a leak that told us that we would be getting the legendary blazing black dragon, Alatreon, alongside the unique subspecies of Orochi Kirin. This got people thinking that the 2 final major updates for Base World were going to be these 2 monsters, but it was later revealed that the last 2 updates would have been collaborations with other games, such as Final Fantasy XIV and The Witcher 3. With this news, the leak was automatically debunked. It goes without saying, however, that it did become partially true later in Iceborne's 4th major update, which brought the blazing black dragon back in all its glory. Monsters are evolved dinosaurs. In the lowest levels of the Jurassic Frontier map, we often see fossils of long-deceased creatures of a bygone era, but one is extremely notable for its uniquely familiar appearance: the skull of a tyrannosaur. While most likely a visual to show how ancient the Jurassic Frontier is, it's fun to theorize on how monsters like the Great Macaw, and most importantly Glavenus, evolved to be what they are today. Perhaps we're seeing an ancestor to not only Glavenus, but maybe even an ancestor to all the brute wyverns as we know them today. Equipment descriptions. This entry is just referencing the equipment that you can make in-game and how it has unique lore tied to them, such as how they are made, or, if it's from a monster, how it enhances your abilities as a hunter. Hypervirus is a bioweapon. This theory is one that was made in response to how the Hypervirus possibly came into being. Some think it's a mutation or offshoot of the Frenzy virus, while others think it's a creation of a mad scientist that wanted to experiment on making monsters obedient and even weaponizing them for their own use, only to create the Hypervirus. It's unknown what the hypervirus's true origin is, but it's truly fascinating to think about it. Seragios and Betelgeuse are close relatives. There was a popular theory that Betelgeuse and Seragios are closely related due to their vaguely similar appearance, namely with the segmented scales, and unique ways that they used them in battle. There was even an animation made to show off this theory, or even make fun of it, by NCH Productions. This theory has since been disproven. Mindguard was blocked off by a cave-in. In the original Monster Hunter for the PlayStation 2, the online hub was called Mindguard. It was a central hub for most players, where they would do their hunts and make gear with partners joining along for the ride. However, the servers did close on December 31st, 2007. There was even a lore reason on why Mindguard was closed in-game, as it was stated that a cave-in happened, making so that no one can get back into the Mountainside hub. A neat little attention to detail there by the Monster Hunter developers. Frostfang Barioth is a deviant. A rather simple theory made by Rage Gaming Videos, where he compares Frostfang Barioth to the past deviants, such as the unique name of Frostfang fitting alongside deviants instead of a variant, as well as the standpoint of only getting a tempered Frostfang in the game. This sadly was thrown into disarray due to a couple events coming out that showed that there is, in fact, normal Frostfangs. Sorry, Rage. The Ruined Pinnacle is a place of worship. The Ruined Pinnacle is a map introduced in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate that has a unique feel about it, as the ruins here show that these were made to worship the Elder Dragon Valstrax. These ancient people who lived on the pinnacle revered Valstrax as a god, the Argent Comet, where its immense power and mastery over Dragon allowed it to roam the pinnacle freely. These people thought that they were protected by Valstrax in the lower levels, with the one area being unsafe to traverse is Area 8, where even the mighty Valstrax does not stray. It's unknown what happened to this civilization, but the ruins are still here as a reminder of what type of people lived here. Yengaruga was considered Elder Dragon level in Freedom. In Monster Hunter Freedom 1, we see that alongside other elders like Kirin, Lao Shenlong, and Fatalis, there was a new monster that made its appearance known quite well, the Lone Wolf Wyvern, Yengaruga. This monster was seen as something completely different compared to any other monster in the game, as it wasn't an Elder Dragon, but you still had to repel it more often than killing it in village quests, and in the online quests, you needed to slay Fatalis to even get a chance to fight the online Garuga. It was a strange time back then. Deviants are caused by hunter encounters. In Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, we were introduced to a new type of monster known as deviants. Monsters that were made stronger through encounters with hunters to make them the perfect challenge to even the hardiest of hunters. Or, so it was said at least. As it turns out, not all deviants are caused by hunter encounters, with the two major ones that come to mind being Bloodbath Diablos and Deadeye Garuga being the only ones actually caused by a hunter encounter. It turns out it was a mistranslation, and the deviant trailer for Generations made it out to seem as if all the deviants were caused by hunters, when they, in fact, can happen naturally. Dawnable and the Rotten Vale. In the Rotten Vale map, you can see various corpses of monsters that come here to die a peaceful death. It's the graveyard of the New World. But there is one species that died here that has interested the community for a long time. The apparent skeletons of the Serpent King Dragon, the Dawnable. This titan of Elder Dragon is the largest known monster in the series, and with what we see in the Rotten Vale, can grow to tremendous sizes far beyond anyone's imagination. The Black Blight and the Frenzy Virus are connected. Black Blight is the main driving force behind Monster Hunter Stories, a spin-off RPG made by Nintendo. Black Blight is often compared to the Frenzy Virus, as both viruses infect their hosts to become much more aggressive and stronger than normal, as well as giving the monsters infected a much darker tone and aura. While it is believed that either Fatalis or another monster entirely made the Black Blight, its similarities to the Frenzy Virus is undeniable. Shura Ishvalda and Safajiva are part of the Five. In Monster Hunter World, we are introduced to a creation myth called the Tale of the Five, which described 5 dragons using their bodies to create the New World. The creation myth goes as follows. The dragons swam to the center of the ocean, and there they began to transform into an island. One dragon sank into the sea and became the land. One dragon lifted its gaze to the sky and became the mountains. One dragon stooped low and became the lakes and scattered its scales to create the rain. One dragon fell into a deep slumber and became the forests. The last dragon climbed far into the sky to become a star of sapphire blue, shining brightly above the island. It is believed that we know two of these dragons. The one that lifted its gaze to the sky and became the mountains could be Sher Ishvalda, as its power to shape the very earth around it into mountainous pillars is close enough to make the connection. Then there's the last dragon who became the sapphire star, which would be Safajiva. Safajiva's unique appearance alongside with its juvenile form of Xenojiva make it the most apparent fit for this dragon. I just wonder, when will we encounter the other three dragons? Hunters are the true monsters. This is more of a joke more than anything, as we often hunt multiples of the same monster to get what we need to make a certain piece of gear and such, and while it can be funny, it's not true since monster populations don't fluctuate when we hunt, at least to our knowledge. Natgargos has killed thousands of humans and monsters. Natgargos is the final boss of Monster Hunter Generations, with its unique appearance and fighting style making it one of the more memorable, if not more lackluster fights in the series. That being said, Natgargos' actions to warrant its hunt is nothing short of haunting. Natgargos is a monster that can easily drive entire ecosystems to extinction, with it being even able to prey on apex predators such as Glavenus, Lagiacrus, Uragon, and Brachydios. Most frightening, however, is that it's also known to attack villages and eat everyone, making it the only monster in the series where it is outright said to kill humans en masse besides from the legendary Black Dragon itself. Lineans were meant to be goblins. In the first Monster Hunter Illustrations book, we can take note that in some concept art that Phalans and Shakalakas are meant to be more akin to stereotypical goblins from other fantasy games. Gaia Dragon. The Gaia Dragon is another concept that appears in the first Illustrations book, where it goes into massive detail as if it were actually in the game. This marks it for the most interesting cut content besides from the much more famous and infamous Equal Dragon weapon. Jaw Wyvern. The Jaw Wyvern is yet another concept that wasn't exactly fully realized back when the first game was in development. It was described as blind and used its mold breath to hinder the armor of hunters that tried to hunt it, along with a decrepit appearance. This concept may have been the very foundation for the Elder Dragon known as Valhazak, or more accurately, the variant known as Black Veil Valhazak. Ancient Serpent. This concept monster is seen as the ancestor of all Paishin wyverns, and is considered to be Elder Dragon level at worst, although it is rarely ever seen and has hardly any info on it other than its sheer power that easily rivals Elder Dragons. Tomb Hydra. The Tomb Hydra is yet another concept monster, this time showing an Egyptian-style snake monster that has two heads and is based heavily off of king cobras. It is very possible that this monster is the inspiration and foundation of Natgargos' two-headed carcass phase. Fortress Dragon. The Fortress Dragon is a very unique concept monster that has a fair amount of info written about it, with it being described as a mobile base and home for the goblin-like Lineans, even having a fortress on its colossal back. It would have been a sort of symbiotic relationship where the goblins got protection from predators, meanwhile making it Fortress Dragon's natural weak defenses by literally fortifying its shell. Elder Dragon gear descriptions. The gear you can make from Elder Dragons have very unique lore on how it enhances your abilities as a hunter. Some even granting the user the power to take over the world or even destroy the world in some extreme cases. Although some of these might just be akin to Pokédex entries, where they're a bit over the top for the sake of being over the top. Naked Hunter Knife Incident. In Season 10 of Monster Hunter Frontier, an incident known as the Naked Hunter Knife Bug happened, where hunters that took part in the special Laviante server event had been bugged to HR 999 and only had the basic starter weapon, the Hunter's Knife, equipped, with every other piece of equipment being lost. This, understandably, caused some uproar from the Frontier community and caused the servers to be rolled back to fix the accounts of those affected by the bug. Giganox in the Deserted Islands. In Area 4 of the Deserted Island, you come across a small cave where you can interact with a small feline village, mine some ore, and catch some bugs. But in the third generation of games, this area also had an unexpected creature dropping down to greet you. Gigis are the offspring of the much larger Giganox, a monster that is only found in the tundra. What on earth is this creature doing here of all places? Does this mean that full-grown Giganox can be roaming around the deserted islands as well? Just out of arm's reach? Monster Hunter was meant to be more fantastical. Now, in the layer above, we looked at several concepts for how Monster Hunter was originally meant to be, where instead of being a somewhat grounded in reality game compared to others, it did initially have a more fantasy-filled side, where there was true goblins and more dragons that weren't even elder dragons. Truly does make you wonder if the series would be popular if they went in this direction. Original Gypsaros. Original Gypsaros refers to the first trailer we've ever seen of Monster Hunter, where we see another monster besides from the ones we can easily recognize. On further inspection, this monster is actually noted as being a Gypsaros, but being noticeably different, as it has a spikier appearance and had a much more menacing air to it instead of, well, whatever the hell this is. Monster Hunter DOS PvP. In the Japanese exclusive Monster Hunter DOS, players were allowed to actually partake in PvP, but not in the traditional way you'd expect. In this PvP fight, each team had a monster fighting alongside them, and the goal was to slay the other team's monster before they slew yours. You can even attack the other players, but can't kill them outright. A truly fascinating prospect that was reintroduced in Monster Hunter Online, but nowhere else in the main series ever since DOS. Monoblos is only encountered in single player. Monoblos is a close relative to the more famous Diablos, having, as the name implies, one horn and is only encountered in offline hunts. Despite that, Monoblos is equally as powerful as Diablos and even gives you more bang for your buck, as you get 8 carves total if you're lucky with it, which makes it bewildering on why you only encounter it in solo, perhaps as an honorable duel, or to go along with its whole only one theme. Desire Sensor. A popular belief amongst hunters is the existence of what is called the Desire Sensor, where if you need a certain part, and you show the game that you need that certain part, it will more often than not prevent you from getting that part, no matter how many times you try your luck. It's something that can be present in other games too, but for Monster Hunter fans, it's something of a fact of life at this point. Fatalis is the final Jiva. I don't know where or why this theory is a thing, but it's here for a reason, I suppose. Some people thought that Fatalis is the final form of Safijiva, explaining its ungodly amount of power. Which still makes no sense, as why does Safijiva shrink to such a degree to become the legendary Black Dragon? Gobul is a juvenile species. This entry talks about the rather frightening realization that Gobuls we encounter in the 3rd generation aren't full grown, but is instead seen as juveniles. It is unknown what the adults are like, other than they live in the darkest depths of the ocean. A truly frightening thought at what the adults really look like. Dia Moralis, the creator and destroyer. Dia Moralis, one of the 3 black dragons and the one we know least about. Its vague nature makes it subject to many interesting topics, such as the theory that is brought up in its only game appearance in Tri-Ultimate. It was said that Dia Moralis was possibly the very creator of the world of Monster Hunter itself, and in the same description also brings up the possibilities of it being the very being to destroy it. It's unknown currently, especially with the limited lore we have for it compared to Elatrion and Fatalis. Original Fatalis had 7 million health. Back in Monster Hunter 1, it is believed that the original Fatalis fight had an abnormal amount of health, with some rumors saying that it had 7 digits in terms of sheer health. This revelation was a shock to be sure, since Fatalis, while being a great fight for the time, maybe would be nightmarish nowadays if it had that amount of health. Every Fatalis is a trapped hunter. Fatalis' lore is quite large and expansive, especially one compared to other monsters in the series. While most games have their unique take on Fatalis from the very first to the G-rank versions of Frontier, one tidbit of lore is always consistent. The armor made from Fatalis parts is haunted. It gives the wearer demonic strength and even the power of the Black Dragon itself. While the wearer gets this amazing strength, it's almost too much, as they report as it feels unnatural. Another aspect of Fatalis' armor is that it is known that people who wear it for too long are haunted by horrible nightmares and feel like they aren't alone in the armor, or it feels like their bodies are being stolen from them. On top of all, in the chest region of the armor, it is reported that wearers of the armor can feel a strange vibration, the rhythmic pulse of a familiar heartbeat. Those hunters that wear the armor for too long soon go missing. The case of this is unknown. Perhaps the fight against Fatalis was too much and they wanted a break from hunting. Or, some hunters believe, that these hunters that disappear are taken by a force stronger than they are, back to Castle Charade, where a horrific transformation happens. It will be a never-ending cycle, where hunters that have no hubris will hunt Fatalis for the glory and armor, only to become the very foundation of the beast itself, alive once again for another hunter to slay, and repeat the cycle anew. Corrupted Hunters. Corrupted Hunters is a reference to an interesting occurrence in the online lobbies of Generations Ultimate, where players can sometimes have this heavily corrupted name and have no weapon icon next to them. These players are 3DS players, somehow able to connect to the servers meant only for Switch, showing the corrupt data, despite being able to play it perfectly. It's an odd occurrence to be sure. Monster Hunter is post-apocalyptic. In the series as a whole, you tend to notice how little pockets of humanity there truly is, with each village being rather closely knit together, even when miles away physically. You may have also noticed that the ruins are scattered across the Monster Hunter world. From the Ancestral Steps plains to the ruined pinnacle, and even the tower itself, we can see that ancient people were here long before us, but are nowhere to be found now, with even the ancient Wyverians being oblivious to what truly happened. Now we are trying to piece that puzzle back together, trying to see if a great cataclysm happened, or maybe Fatalis' destruction of Castle Charade did more than expected, and scared these people into abandoning their structures and moving further away. Or even the fabled Great Dragon War took place, tearing the buildings asunder with the ruins being scattered across the locales. Whatever the case, we're still in the process of recovering from an event that we don't even know if it really happened or not. Thankfully, Monster Hunter doesn't have one of those oddball reality bending or temporal anomaly stories akin to the Super Mario 64 Iceberg. Monster Hunter Dynamic Hunting was a mobile game for iOS where you fought various monsters from the second generation, with you focusing solely on the monster and dodging attacks at the right time to pull off these ultimate attacks to make the fight go much quicker. It was sadly discontinued with some monsters that were in the game files already, such as Goldrathine and Silver Rathalos, never seeing the light of day. Every copy of Monster Hunter is personalized. Alright, so this is a unique take on the whole personalized trope, since it is very much true. Monster Hunter as a RPG action game can be and is heavily personalized for each player. They make a new hunter, they make unique armor sets and weapons from other hunters, and hunt differently with monsters treating each player differently as well. Even the desire sensors are different for each hunter, with some being fortunate enough to get gems and such, but never getting common materials that are actually needed and vice versa. So in a technical way, each Monster Hunter copy is indeed personalized. And that's the end of the video. Yeah, I'm kind of going a little bit off script here. It's been quite the project to work on. It's a rough time getting everything, I guess you could say. Making sure it's as valid as they can make it, you know? Anyways, I'd like to give a special thank you to my good friend Yorm and Galactic Universe 64, the latter of which is channel I will link down in the description, and most likely pinned comment. Also, I would like to thank Dawn for doing the artwork and helping me get some footage for the video as well. It would have been a lot more tedious and time consuming without them. I really do appreciate their help. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if y'all like something like this, I can try to see if I can do something more like this. With that being said, you all have a cozy time, and I will speak to you all next time.